What is up, geeks, nerds, and gamers? Today I would like to come to you with some of the saddest and probably most aggravating thing I've had to cover since starting my content creation journey, and that is the end of content development for the game New World Aeternum, right on the back of its newest release, Nighthaven, and an incredible surge in popularity and positive reviews. So I am very, very sad to say that New World Aeternum will no longer be creating new content for the game. The game is not completely shuttering. You will still be able to play the game, although I strongly advise against that. Um, but you will still be able to play the game. This says, I believe, through 2026, but we're going to read that. But there is not going to be any new content for the game. And they also stated in here that we are not going to be getting any of the holiday events anymore until the game is shuttered. So let's take a look at what this has to say, and then we'll go in and we'll talk about why I believe this was the intended course the entire time and why I believe this was the planned exit for New World. So, as New World recognizes its fourth anniversary since launching on PC, we reflect on an incredible journey shaped by our dedicated player community. Your feedback and passion have been instrumental in evolving Eternum into the world it is today, and our team is deeply grateful for this shared adventure. After 4 years of steady content updates and a major new console release, we've reached a point where it is no longer sustainable bullshit to continue supporting the game with new content updates. The recently launched Season 10 and Nighthaven update will serve as the final content release for New World on PC and consoles. It is only after much consideration that we've reached this decision. How much consideration could you have done in the last 2 weeks? To thank you, the New World community, for your support over the years, we have made the Nighthaven release available to you for free. Again, this decision was made, right? The Nighthaven release being free was made before the Nighthaven release came out, right? So if this action, right, giving away the Nighthaven release for free, if that action was as a thank you to the community because they were going to be shuttering the game, then this was intended before the launch. So why didn't we hear about it? To ensure all New World players can experience this content, we also made Rise of the Angry Earth free for all PC players. Again, another decision that was made when the game launched, so that it's just showing this was obviously in the works beforehand. In the coming months, we will provide more details on what to expect and other essential information. Rest assured, our intention is to keep servers operating through 2026, allowing our community time to continue their adventures in Eternum. Additionally, New World Eternum will still be downloadable for PlayStation Plus members, Extra, and Premium. Players of Players of Eternum, your dedication and enthusiasm have made this New World adventure an unforgettable journey. We're deeply grateful for every moment you've spent helping build this extraordinary world alongside us. It has been an honor to share Eternum with you. Thank you for helping make this game something truly special. Yeah, so all this reads like a whole lot of PR bullshit to me. And I hate it. And I think that this was always intended. And the reason I believe that, A, is the wording here in this middle sentence really kind of just comes out and says that, right? But also, this is on the back of a 30,000 plus employee layoff, right? You don't decide to fire 30,000 people and then identify where those 30,000 people need to come from in 2 weeks, right? You do that over the course of months. And so, A, they're probably working with old data, right? All the data that was pulled to decide where the fat needed to be trimmed from would have come from when that decision was made, which would have been probably months ago, which would have been data that was showing, right, New World at its lowest point because it was right before a new expansion, and that's the lowest point for every video game ever, ever, ever in the history of ever. So, duh. Um, but also, it wouldn't have been taking into account any of the new stuff. And you can't make that decision. You can't do that much number crunching. You can't identify weaknesses like that in such a short 2 week period of time. So the decision to make Rise of the Angry Earth for free, the decision to release Nighthaven for free, to me was a decision to entice players to purchase the game. It was a last-ditch effort to make as much money as humanly possible off of the game. And then 2 weeks later, when hype starts to die down, when people are aggravated about the queues, all that stuff, then we go ahead, we lay off everybody, and we announce, okay, New World is not going to be getting any new content updates. So long, and thanks for all the fish. And I think that's bullshit. The other reason that I believe that this was always intended is we only got one new server on one region, right? We got the MP server on NA East. And that was, as far as I know, the only new server that was released because of the queue times, right? It was the only thing that was done to combat the queue times. And that's crazy to me because we had tens of thousands of people across all regions sitting in queues, which means that we had the potential for even more players to be playing the game than we already did. Because as soon as you exceed a certain amount of queue, then there are players who log in, try to play, see that there's a really long queue, realize they don't have time to wait in that queue, and then don't stay online. So not only did Nighthaven launch double the concurrent player base of New World Aeternum, but it also had a much, much greater possibility to increase that player base even more had they not had to be contending with queue times. And that makes it really, really sad. So we haven't even seen, we never saw, we're never going to get the opportunity to see what the Nighthaven release could have really done for New World Aeternum. And that makes me very, very upset. And it's another one of those things that makes me think that this must have been a planned exit, right? This must have been the intention all along. And why would somebody have done that, right? Why, they've already mentioned in here, we'll go down here, we'll see, I just bought the game, can I get a refund? Please check with customer support for the platform where you purchased New World Aeternum for assistance. So why would they have done this and exited in this way if there was going to maybe be a potential for refunds? Well, it's really simple. Not everybody who bought the game in the last 2 weeks is going to try to get a refund. Some people just won't take the time. Some people will just take the hit. This doesn't mean anything. Are refunds available for Marks of Fortune purchases? No, refunds are not available for Marks of Fortune purchases. So we're closing the game after 2 weeks, right? We bought all these people in. We put out a new battle pass. It was, as far as my older brother says, one of the best battle passes that we've ever had as far as what rewards and stuff you were going to get. And I'd say that's pretty obvious, right? You put out this really great battle pass. You try and get a bunch of people to buy into it in that first week or those first 2 weeks. And then you say, hey, by the way, this is it. No refunds. So the fact that none of this information, right? We didn't get an inkling of the fact that New World was going to be closing content development before this patch came out. And because of that, this is an extremely anti-consumer decision, right? You have gone into this exchange with information that you didn't share with the consumer, right? You knew, even if you didn't know for a fact that you were going to close content, even if you didn't know 100%, you had to have an inkling of an idea that this is where one of the cuts was going to come from, right? That this was going to be a major cut and that you weren't going to be continuing content development for New World Aeternum. And because you knew that, any exchanges that were made, right? Any money that changed hands during that time where you knew that this was a real possibility and where purchases were being made on the assumption of the future of this game, right? We were getting really, really positive information about this game for the last 2 weeks, right? Player numbers were up, reviews were up, people making YouTube videos and putting New World in a positive light were up, right? We were getting nothing but positive metrics for the future of this game, and you were holding back a huge, huge negative and still taking money. And that is anti-consumer. That should be investigated. That is wrong. You cannot do that when you know information that is contrary to the information that is making people want to spend money, right? We're speculating on the future of this game every time we spend money on it because it is a live service game, right? This is basically insider trading, right? You're allowing us to pump the value of your game, right? To buy in, to spend more money, to buy marks, to do all of these things, despite the fact that you know for a fact that the game is potentially on the chopping block. And that's just wrong. That is 100% anti consumer. That is 100% a horrible, horrible way to do business. Now, we're going to go through the FAQ here. Obviously, this is not actually a frequently asked questions because this FAQ dropped with the release of the information that we weren't going to have continued content development. So nobody could have been asking any questions because you just put the release out. So I don't know what frequently asked questions is all about here. But sure, let's call it frequently asked questions. I'm sure everybody wants to know, how long will I be able to play New World Aeternum? We will provide more details on what to expect in the upcoming months. We will provide a minimum of 6 months notice before making any changes that impact your ability to play New World Aeternum. Well, that's a lie, because you've made a change that impacts my ability to play this game. And I didn't get any notice. In fact, you dropped a whole new expansion and got everybody to buy your game and then made that decision within 2 weeks. So lie. Are you sunsetting the game? No, not at this time. While New World will not be receiving new content updates, servers will be live through 2026. Our focus has been on completing the Season 10 Nighthaven content update and sharing it with our players. So there have been some things that people have noticed, right? A lot of the wild areas of Nighthaven seem really sparsely populated, and some things just feel a little bit unfinished. Up to this point, it was my opinion that they were just trying something new, right? Not everything has to have a ton of entities every time you go into, every patch of trees or anything like that. But in light of the fact that we're not doing any more content updates, that the layoff of all of the people at the AGS studio that was developing the content for this game happening right alongside a larger series of layoffs for Amazon in general, makes me think that probably the Nighthaven expansion got released earlier than it was supposed to because they didn't want to put off that large layoff to wait for New World's Nighthaven release to get fully completed. So while I can't say that that's it for sure, that is something that people have noticed, is that the wild places of Nighthaven specifically feel much, much more empty than the wild places of every other region of the map, right? Every time you run around anywhere in New World, there's always little packs of enemies and stuff all over the place, right? There's creatures populating the entirety of the world, and in Nighthaven, that just wasn't true. You might run into a wolf or two in some areas, but for the most part, if you were just running through the wild, there was nothing to see there, right? There were no enemies, there was nothing. That could be because it was a much more developed section of Aeternum, but it also could be because there was something else driving that. Can I still install New World Aeternum if I have previously purchased the game? Yes, if you previously purchased New World Aeternum, then you can download and install the game. I recommend absolutely against this, but if you have not yet done the Nighthaven expansion and you want to get your money's worth, if you want to experience that content, it is still viable for you. But I will be leaving the game entirely. I will not be playing even another minute of New World Aeternum until it's sunsetting. Will I still be able to use my in-game currency? Example, Marks of Fortune. Yes, you will still be able to purchase and use in-game currency. If this changes, we will share an update with the community. This is bullshit. You should absolutely be able to use your Marks of Fortune since they're not going to let you refund them. But allowing people to buy them is an extremely, again, anti-consumer way to go about this, especially. So I know that there is a notice when you log into New World. Some people have posted it up on Reddit that says that the game is not going to be getting any more content updates, but they need to do, and I haven't checked this, so I don't know, and I'm not going to check it because I'm not logging back into the game. But be very wary, and somebody check for me and maybe put down in the comments if there's any sort of notice when you try to buy Marks of Fortune that say, hey, just a reminder, this game isn't going to be around for a really, really long time after this, and you're not going to get a refund for buying Fortune. because people don't necessarily always read every little notice that you get as you log into a video game. And this feels like one of those things where they're just kind of banking, right? They're just kind of saying, well, if we leave it open, then some people won't realize that the game is sunsetting at some point and they'll go ahead and spend some money. Especially as we get closer and closer to that sunsetting, as they get closer and closer to making that decision, the the closer you get to the game no longer being available and no longer being live service, the more information and the more safeguards I expect you to put into place to protect people from spending money on a dying or dead or about to be completely closed game, right? So this is something we'll have to keep an eye on. But as we approach that mark of, okay, New World won't exist anymore, they need to have things on the Steam store that say, hey, this game is about to close. They need to have things, in their marks or in their in-game shop that say, hey, this game is about to close. Like it needs to be front and center at every single decision point that you make when it comes to buying this game, that the game is closing, because it is a live service game. It is an MMORPG. Everybody knows that those games last a really, really long time, and they make purchases inside of and of those games for the purpose of being able to play them for years and years and years to come. Which again is why I'm so mad that we put out this new content, right? We have the Nighthaven release. We gave out the Rise of the Angry Earth for free to entice players to come back in to buy this game that they were expecting to be able to play for years. And then literally 2 weeks later, you say, oh, gotcha, and pull the rug out. That is absolute anti-consumer bullshit. Let's see. Will I still be able to purchase in-game currency? Yes. I love how they put this in here twice, right? They're really, really harping on the fact that you can still buy Marks of Fortune, right? Just back to back. Nobody is asking this question. Nobody wants to continue to fund a game that isn't still in consistent development, right? Why would anybody want to buy your Marks of Fortune? You absolute fucking clown shoes. Yes, you will still be able to purchase and use in-game currency. If this changes, we will share an update with the community. Yeah, it better change. Will I still be able to buy the game after October 28th? I love how they put after October 28th, like we got this before October 28th. We didn't. You will be able to purchase and play the game on all platforms until further notice. While we don't have an update yet for how long that will be, we will share that information with the community as soon as we can. I'm actually going to open up the Steam page right now, and I'll share it with you all if I find something interesting. But I want to know whether or not there is a notification that says that the game is being... Okay, so this update, recent events and announcements. So this update is technically on the site, but it's... Wow. It's one of those little boxes that you have to click, and it doesn't say anything about the game no longer being... Oh, no, there we go. There we go. New World Aeternum is no longer releasing content updates. Season 10 and Nighthaven update released October 2025 were the final updates. Servers will remain active through 2026. All existing content will continue to be playable, but there will be no further content updates. Okay, good. So it does say on the Steam, I don't know about the other platforms, but it does say on the Steam that you are not going to be able to get any more content updates for the game. I would like to see that more prevalent, right? It's in regular font. There's nothing bold or exciting about it, but it is there. How long will the game stay on PlayStation Plus, Extra, and Premium? You will be able to play New World Aeternum on PlayStation Plus, Extra, and Premium until further notice. While we don't have an update yet for how long that will be, we will share that information with the community as soon as we can. Will there be any additional bug fixes, server mergers, etc. after Season 10? Yes, while there will be no new content coming to the game after Season 10, we will continue to keep the game running smoothly. This is really vague. And to me, it just says that if something stops the game from operating, then they're going to fix it. This says no balance patches to me. This says even server mergers. Well, server mergers would be in the best interest of AGS because it'll cost less if you merge the servers. So I see that happening. But to me, this says, no balance patches. This says no fixing anything that isn't great game breaking. This says absolutely minimum possible effort right here. So very, very um, underwhelming response to this question that they made up. Are refunds available for Marks of Fortune purchases? No, refunds are not available. And I just bought the game. Can I get a refund? Please check with customer support for the platform where you purchased New World Aeternum for assistance. Now, because this is going through the platform, I absolutely see Steam. Steam has always been a pretty consumer-friendly platform, and I'm a pretty big fan of Steam for the most part. They don't always make the best decisions, but they do make a lot of good consumer-focused decisions when it comes to game refunds and stuff like that. So if you recently bought the game on Steam, I wouldn't be surprised if some information comes out in the near future about being able to get those refunds. But the reason they would have released the game with the intention of closing it so soon and still be willing to put this information about refunds in here is because the expectation is, people won't apply for those refunds, right? Not everybody who bought the game in the last 2 weeks is going to apply for a refund. They can put things like playtime as a gatekeep to being able to get that refund. So, a new content patch drops, and this is the time when people are going to be spending a lot of time in game. These are the periods where people spend, 8, 10 hours on a weekend day playing the game. And so if you set that game time low enough, you can really, really exclude a lot of people from being able to make that refund. And since playtime hours is typically how Steam does the refund process, they could be very well counting on that. You also have the fact that you're leaving the servers open. Maybe some people haven't completed their their run through Nighthaven, or maybe they haven't gotten the gear set that they want, or maybe they just want to get the raid done or something like that. And so because you're putting this information out right now and you're saying, hey, we might be able to get you a refund. What happens if I play the game for another 3 or 4 days or something like that, or another week or something like that to try and get specifically the content done, and then I go look for that refund, and they're like, "Oh, nope, sorry, that was something you had to do immediately, or you don't get access to it anymore." Or what if I had already quit playing the game, and then I come back and I want my refund, but it's been in my library for the last 6 months, and I didn't realize that New World was shuttering immediately after dropping the expansion that made me purchase the game. Something happened to my family. I had a death in the family or something like that. I don't play the game for 6 months. It's in my library. I never touch it. Oh, but then I go to try and refund it and I can't. And so now I'm screwed, even though I got basically nothing out of the game. There's just a lot of if statements in here that can cause you to not be able to get that refund, which is why somebody might have gone through that effort. And will there still be seasonal events, world bosses, and bonus weeks? World bosses, bonus weeks, and some seasonal events will continue, but there will be no more holiday events. Yeah, so I don't really know what is going to go on with all this stuff. Again, this is pretty open ended, so I don't really know. But the point of this post is that I'm just very, very upset with the fact that it's fairly obvious to me that this has been a possible outcome or even a probable outcome for a really long time, right? We weren't getting new servers despite the fact that tons and tons and tons of people were in queues all the time. We weren't getting, even uh, the proper amount of effort from AGS when it came to making sure that this game had its best chance to really blow up again and really have an opportunity to move into the future. And that's because this was, in my opinion, part of the plan. And I think it's fairly obvious, right? When you look at some of the wording in here, right? This press release reads like it was written a while back. Right? Will I still be able to buy the game after October 28th? It is October 28th. So this reads like it was supposed to have been posted previously, but it just hasn't been posted until right now. So I'm pretty upset. I think this was an extremely anti-consumer way to go about this. I think it was intentional. I think it was a money grab. Um, and so even if AGS continues to try and develop games, I won't be playing any more AGS games because I can't. How am I ever supposed to trust again that they might do a huge marketing push on a game? And I might say, oh my gosh, that looks like so much fun, and then go spend my money on it. And then, despite that huge marketing push, despite positive analytics, despite all of this information that says, hey, your game might really actually do something, um, based on decisions that were potentially made months ago, they might say, oh, but actually, we were kidding. We're just shuttering the game now. So all faith is lost in AGS as a development studio. All faith is lost in Amazon to be able to provide a customer focused, positive customer environment for their games. And I will, from this point forward, not be playing any AGS games. So, yeah, jump in the comments. Let me know your feelings on this recent development with New World Aeternum. If you got any use out of this video, go ahead and hit me with the like and subscribe. I'm going to be streaming something starting the day after this video goes live, but I got to find out what that game is going to be, some sort of survival game or MMO or something like that. So make sure you stop by over on Twitch or here on YouTube for those streams pretty much every day starting at about 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern, sorry. So yeah, thank you all very much for your time. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you on the next one.